All right, peace and blessings, family. Welcome to Sunday Sitting with Sisters. Back in the building, Sister Rolanda, Sister Dana, and we got some
Happy
awesome guests
Sunday,
today.
everyone.
Right on. So let me introduce to you who we have. So give me just a minute here, because I'm like working the studio. Bam! Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, let me see. Hold on. There we go. All right. So let me tell you who we got. So first, we are pleased to be joined by Sister Plachette Robertson. Plachette is the CEO and the founder of SacCulturalHub.com and the editor and the chief editor of the Hub magazine, the leading source of Black urban media that celebrates urban life of African Americans in the capital region and throughout California. So thank you for joining us today, Sister Plachette. And then we
So
got
glad to be
Dr.
here with you.
Holmes, Senior Associate Director of the Residential Life at Sacramento State University. But also, she works with Black Women's United and she is a mentor to many. And then we're going to have Reverend Denise join us too. And that will be the third sister that will be signing on. She is the founders of Carrie's Touch Inc., a breast cancer advocate organization that provides resources and support to Black women. So, welcome, y'all. I'm really looking forward to talking with you all. Today, we're talking about education, information, and press purpose. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get started, I just want to check in. How y'all doing today?
I'm I am doing all right.
Well, I'm doing great. I'm outside.
Yes, I'm doing
Looking
all right.
forward to talking with you all.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm doing well too. I'm so happy to be in the company of my sisters this morning.
Right on.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, we're talking about education and information and press purpose. Sister Plachette, what made you start that Sac Cultural Hub?
Mhm.
Oh man, when you talk about information, that's what I'm all about is information and resources. So when, I first came to Sacramento in 2001, I always say I'm a Bay Area transplant. And a lot of people know tell the story. My roots come from being an administrative assistant at Stanford University School of Medicine. So that's where my whole background comes from, working with email, working with websites, and I'm a very family orientated person. My roots also come from the church, being a church secretary for the children's department. So it's all about, knowing where things are as far as resources for the family. And I remember picking up this City Flight magazine in the Bay Area, and it was just a wonderful magazine that had Black people on the cover and information about the barbershops, the restaurants, everything. And it was distributed to churches. So to make a long story short, I love that magazine and I wanted to be a part of it. And it was created by John Hilton, but I couldn't because my kids were small. I was going to San Jose State. And so when I moved to Sacramento, I had to reestablish myself and get connected with what church I was going to go to, where was everything at. And I was like lost in a land of, if anybody can remember Sacramento 20 years ago, people look at it as the cow town. And it was just like, where is it at for Black people?
Yeah,
And thus came Sac Cultural Hub, the
yeah,
website, picking up everything Black that I could think of. I come from a family of um, hairstylists and barbershops. So everything that was happening in the barbershop, I just put that stuff on the website and any flyers that I picked up. I even saw it in the Sacramento Observer. I saw the Sacramento Magazine, which didn't feature no Black people at all at that point. So the website, we started the website with just 5 pages of information and a email newsletter. So to answer your story in short, because I went all over the place,
No, that's
the
good.
website and the reason why I started was boredom. Totally bored in Sacramento. And so putting the website, all of these resources together. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
Okay. So yeah, and that, made it easy for me to be able to see where everything was that I from my family, or for, knowing where different businesses were and barbershops and restaurants. And I just found whatever is helpful to me, I know it's going to be helpful to other people. And it really just took off because with our email that we were sending out, it was what we call an e-blast, e-newsletter.
I remember that.
Everybody was loving the information they were getting weekly.
Right on, right on.
So I just want to say, I think I am the newest person to move to Sacramento, and I've been here 6 years. And I have got to say that if it wasn't for Sac Cultural Hub, I wouldn't be as connected as I am now. When I first got here, I said I need to see everything that I could to get to find my folks. And I got with Sac Cultural Hub. And I think the first thing I did was attend the Black EWOC, Exceptional Woman of Color Conference. And that's when I saw so many people and got connected. And I've never missed one since then, since I've been here. And I've been here 6 years. I think it'll be 6 years or going on my 7th year, July 8th.
Mhm.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I can say that when I moved here,
Thank you, Dr. Holmes, such a great supporter of us.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say I grew up in San Francisco and moved to Oakland and then moved here. So it was a big cultural shock. And I can identify with that cow town because I didn't know. And then I moved over by Antelope when I first moved here. So there was nothing Black there for me. I thought it wasn't. Then I found South Sac and I was like, oh, okay. But I met Pastor Takoy Porter, and he told me how I could find out everything was through you, Plachette. And he proved right.
Wow.
That's
Porter Brothers, I love them.
right on, right on.
Well,
So-
can I jump in there
so-
and give my love to Sac Cultural Hub?
Right on, right on. So
right.
you
Go
all,
ahead.
we just was joined by Reverend Denise, and thank you. I'm so glad you was able to get in, sis. And this is Reverend.
Hey, Reverend Denise.
Yeah. She is one of the founders of Carrie's Touch Inc., a breast cancer advocacy organization that provides resources and support to Black women. So we did introductions, but you weren't in, but I wanted people to know who you were again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
yeah.
I apologize for
No, that's all right.
issues.
That's all right. We're glad you're here.
Mhm.
Dr. Holmes, you are at Sac State.
Mhm.
What's going on education-wise
Mhm.
with our folks at Sac State?
So we have, I don't think I can talk about this without referencing what's happening in the light of our community and what's happening now since, rest in peace, George Floyd. Our president has been able to galvanize and also to rally behind what's happening and has put together several measures in place for us to make sure that we are welcoming, that we are making sure that our students, all of our students of color have a place, feel like they belong here. And so he has definitely put together some task force. There are some key things that were already in the works that he wanted to also highlight. And creating this place to be an anchor university, which is something that had come up this past year, and I know you probably have heard that in the media, is that he's letting the community know that we are here, we are anchored, we are grounded in our community, in the surrounding area. And we're trying, our best to reach out as far as we can to let folks know that we are a place where you can come and get your degree. We just launched a new program where if you were a few credits shy of getting your degree, they have a degree path plan for you to finish that. And so they're looking to, get folks, especially who are within the area. You got a couple of credits short. We have a degree pathway for you for degree completion. And so also with that too, he's very connected with the Black Student Union. They are really good at reaching out to him and letting him know how they feel and where they're sitting at, especially with what's happening within our community. There is a reading circle that was put on by Equity and Inclusion area where we're actually reading Anti-Racist, How to be an Anti-Racist by Dr. Ibrahim Kendi. And so we have 2 reading circles going on, and that was already in the works kind of before all this happened. They're putting together some healing circles so that way students, even though not all of our students are here, we just have a small summer school student population, to do some healing circles. We did some healing circles around Stephon Clark, and we want to do that, and we're looking to see how do we do that in a virtual world. How do we transition ourselves to make sure that we are doing from a virtual standpoint? And so we're doing that there. We have really good plans in place underneath Dr. Marceline Watson-Durbany with our MLK Center, who also too is reaching out to our students and providing a place in connection with the Cooper Woodson program for our African American students. In addition to great works with our Dreamer program as well, wanting to make sure that those students feel connected as well. And so there's a lot of things, in place that we want to make sure of that. But in shadowing, in the same time, we have to watch out for Rona, okay? Because Rona out here disturbing and wreaking havoc. And so we're looking at what does fall going to look like with this Rona. I call her Roro, because Roro ain't no joke. And how are we going to make sure, our students, want to come to campus? There's also an opportunity for them to defer because they just don't feel comfortable coming to school, for this time and stuff like that, because we don't know when the second wave is supposed to hit, and it looks like it might be sooner than expected. And so we are in the works of figuring out what that's going to look like, putting together some proposals and some plans to be able to say, okay, this is how we're going to work with our students and make sure our students have a safe place on campus.
Right on. All right. Okay. So I'm just going to get a little background before we get into our conversation. So that's really good to know, because I was wondering, I work with the school districts and with SCOE, which is the Sacramento County Office of Education, and watching how they're basically dealing with, the whole thing around Corona, but also making sure our kids are getting the education that they need. But I also have some concerns, because I know if a lot of young people haven't really been going to school, at least for the secondary education, what does that look like during Corona? Mm-hmm. What does that look like during homeschooling? Like, what does that really look like? So it's good to hear that with Sac State, because they're like a higher institution of learning. Mm-hmm. But just wondering, do you know, like, if y'all have any students that are like homeless or struggling with housing? Because in Sacramento, the housing situation is just, it's off the chain.
I work in the residence halls, and we never closed.
Okay.
We never closed because we have foster youth. We also have housing insecure students. So we those students who had the opportunity or who had a place to go left, but those students who didn't, we consolidated them, into single rooms, and tried our best to make sure of that and provide, safety measures, social distancing, physical distancing on the ground, encourage masks and things of that nature. So we never close. And so we have an opportunity for students who are housing insecure, foster youth, to stay with us. In addition to our emergency housing with our CARES office as well, who works with students, who are also experiencing that too as well, and to get them some financial help as too. And so, and we like I said, we've never closed, and so people think, oh, there's no students here. We do. We have a small population of students who are here with us who need housing, and we are here to provide housing.
Right on. That's good to know. That is good to know. Reverend Tam, what has been going on in terms of, people who are Black women who are dealing with cancer? Because just because the coronavirus hit don't mean cancer just took a break and was like, we'll continue back after the quarantine. What's going on that front?
Right. So thank you for having me. And I'll just start kind of on a broad scope for folks that don't know a lot about Carrie's Touch. We're a breast cancer organization, and our target audience is Black women. There's no other 501c3s out there, especially in the area, that focus specifically on Black women. And we are a direct services organization. That means that if you call our number and you need some assistance, we will pick up the phone, and not only will we assist you, we actually will come to you. So we go to Big Mama Nem's house and sit on Big Mama's sofa or sit on the front porch and snap peas. And we, have a cup of tea with our folks, and we educate our survivor and we educate their families because it's a different journey and everybody has a part in the journey and everybody has feelings and emotions attached to all of that. And you're exactly right that coronavirus, didn't stop cancer. But what it did stop is treatment for some people. What it did stop is surgery for some people. And imagine the psychological and emotional impact that has on patients to know that you have a disease or dis-ease in your body that could actually kill you. And you're weighing the difference between which one's worse, cancer or corona. And we actually did have some patients that halted their treatment temporarily because they figured that with coronavirus, they were going to go out a lot faster than they would with cancer. In addition to that aspect of it, we've got people who are already on limited budgets because most of them are out on disability. That's, assuming that they have a job with insurance and benefits that affords them to be out on disability. Many of our women don't even have that. And our women say things like, we can't afford to go through treatment. Just imagine what that's like. You're told you've got this disease. You go to a second opinion. Some women, have gone and gotten a 7, 8, 9 opinions to find out that, yeah, they all say the same thing, but you can't afford to go through treatment because you're the primary caregiver for your primary provider for your family, for your single mom. You know the stats, especially in Sacramento, in California, I think it's 71% of the households, of Black households, African American women are the primary provider in the household. So she's got this disease, and then where did she go? Well, we're resilient and we're resourceful. So many of us are able to overcome this next trauma in our life and figure out how to support our families. Where we fall short and struggle a lot is psychologically. Because we're strong, we have our plan, we have a regimen. I mean, just think about coronavirus. A lot of our patients likened coronavirus to their experience with breast cancer. You need to self-quarantine. You need to limit your physical touch with other people. You limit your access out, in public, because what you don't want to do is get somebody's cold or somebody's flu or somebody's whatever they have that might impact your ability to continue your treatment, so that you can, go on and get back on with your life. So, a lot of people don't know that Black women die at approximately 41% higher rates than Caucasian women do with breast cancer, even though white women are diagnosed more frequently. What's interesting about that statistic in coronavirus space is that the statistics are showing that Black people are dying at about 40% higher rates than any other ethnic group due to coronavirus. So once again, there's this parallel between a cancer journey for a Black woman and a journey with a person with coronavirus with regard to mortality. So then you take all of that, people ask me the next question, well, why is that? There are a lot of reasons why that research has shown that there's a lot of external reasons why this happens. Lack of access to care, lack of compliance, lack of understanding around the disease, lack of trust in the community. What Carrie's Touch has done is said, I'm tired of y'all asking everybody else what's going on with me and my body. Why don't you ask me? So we've partnered with UCLA for a project called Project SOAR, Speaking Our African American Realities. At the time when we started this project almost 3 years ago, when we looked for research around understanding the strong Black woman, understanding how it impacts her with breast cancer, and understanding how it impacts her psychologically, there was absolutely no research out there on this subject. So with UCLA, we are knocking down walls with this research that gives the Black woman a voice to express her unique experiences with breast cancer. Last thing I'll say, and I'll pass the mic. So with coronavirus, we also reallocated about 35% of our funding, our current budget, to supporting Black women. Anybody can call, but our target audience is Black women with breast cancer. So this week alone, we've paid rent, we've paid for treatment, we've bought groceries, we've paid car notes, we've purchased medication, we've paid copays. That's just this week. So we are right there. If you know a Black woman that's going through treatment, we even gave a woman who was just diagnosed, and she was petrified of, as Dr. Aja says, the Roro. She said, I can't do this whole thing. We just gave her a bonus for saying, yes, she'll go to the doctor.
Right on.
That's where we are with supporting.
Right on.
Yeah.
So Dana, could you adjust your camera, please? Because people don't want to see your neck. There you go. A little bit down, a little bit more. There you go. So we can see you. Okay. So with that being said, you said something that was very key that we really got to look at, because Black folks, it seems like we're always higher than other groups on everything. It feels like
In
Yep.
everything.
So whether we talk about cancer, diabetes, hypertension, like, I mean, the corona, like, why is that? Why are we more susceptible, like, to be higher in all of these areas? And is it lack of information? Is it we're not educating ourselves enough? Because usually healthcare stuff don't discriminate for Black folks, especially infant mortality. No matter how much education you have, how much money you make. Like, it's just something about being Black. Like, what is that about? And anybody can jump in.
That's interesting, because we're also the most educated Black women. So, I mean, I'm like, whoa.
That's so true.
You know,
so what do you think that's about?
I would just jump in really quickly and say my experience over the past 15, I forgot to say, I'm a 15-year breast cancer survivor. By the grace of God, I am a 15-year breast cancer survivor, right? And I
Praise
say
the Lord.
because we don't see people like me talking out about how long they have survived this daggone disease, right? And so I always say, how long it's been since I've survived, because my doctors actually told me they weren't sure that I was going to make it to my 5-year mark because of the type of cancer I had. So that's one of the reasons
God's miracle.
Our medical professionals have to learn how to communicate with Black folks. They got to speak different language. You can't come in the door saying, you've got this cancer, doesn't look like you're going to make it 5 years, we're going to try to save your life. You can't use that language. They don't use that language with white women. They say, you've got this cancer, it's pretty aggressive. There's a lot of research out there that shows that there's this treatment, this treatment. And as a result, we think we can save your life. And so they send the white woman out the door with a whole lot of hope, and they send the Black woman out the door devastated, afraid, and feeling alone without resources. This is not just stuff that I have experienced personally. It's stuff that thousands of women across the world have experienced as well. And our research is supporting all of this. So it's not a single reason that it's happening. It's all inclusive.
Systemic.
It's systemic. It's not just systemic. It's Tuskegee. Our folks come in saying, "Oh no, you're not about to experiment on me."
Exactly.
Half of us don't even know what Tuskegee, the details of what Tuskegee really is, but what they know is that it wiped out a whole generation of Black folks.
Yes, it did.
That's what they know, and they're afraid of it, and it's valid. And so that impedes healthy relationships between the medical professional and the patient. And so we empower patients. We tell them, these are your patient rights. Go in there, empowered, ask your questions, If you and the doctor ain't vibing, don't trip. There's too many
Yep.
good doctors out there to be stuck with a bad one.
Right on. Right on.
Exactly.
Mhm.
We heard about this at the Physicians Forum on Friday night about
Yes.
systemic issues and
Mhm.
some of the struggles that some of our Black sisters have gone through, with their pregnancy journeys. And so it was exciting to hear about that and just how they had to advocate for themselves.
Right.
One of the persons said here, we're in constant
Mhm. Mhm.
survival as a Black woman, as a constant state of that.
That's
There's
right.
something chemically that happens to your body,
I
and
saw that
and
too.
Dr. Flo talked about this, as well, and some of the things that she's talked about that happens to our body when we're in a constant state of survival. That that's
Mhm.
adrenaline probably that's pumping through. And how do we continue? We cannot survive on that. Constantly go 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 go. But we have to look at how do we continue to advocate for ourselves, but how do we make sure that systemically that it's being also taken care of as
Mhm.
well?
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow. Plachette, what kind of things do you?
And I just wanted to mention. Go ahead.
No, I was ready to ask you. Go right ahead.
Well, I was just going to add that, I think it's such a conditioning over time. I saw the comment too about the constant state of survival for Black and just Black families, Black people in general. With the information that's out there, we're also in this struggle just to keep our families going, just to continue working, just to have a place to live and be safe. That, the information that comes in is the way it comes in too, and how it's interpreted to us so that we receive the information. And so that's one of the things, at SAC Cultural Hub that I found early on. The way you present information to our people it's got to be so different from the way other non Black media bring information to the table to us so that we receive it. It's not so much of a lack of information, but it's the way you receive the information. How do I access the information? And that right there is a reconditioning over time for me. The way, I see it and how we get people on board with knowing what's good for them. Like, the program that Reverend Denise has is an outstanding program. And so many people need to know about these resources that are available. So how do we present those resources to people to where they feel like, yeah, this is for me. This is for my sister, my aunt, my grandmother. I got to make sure she has access to this information. So it's definitely a conditioning. It's a presentation of information, interpretation, and who the information comes from. It's all about a trusted messenger. We don't tend to, as Black people, if it came from this other news source, it's like, I don't know them. I don't what they're talking about. Mainstream news versus our own news people telling us. Huge difference.
Yeah. I think that's critical too. Just the fact that, folks need to understand how to talk to Black folks. We have to start there and how to, get that message out to Black folks, and so many times, people have, utilized the Black church as being a pretty trusted worth institution to be able to get some of those messages out, and that can be kind of like a hit or miss as well. And so we have to also make sure that we are also going into those spaces that are also, trusted, that we know. And we're building those relationships as well too. And I think that, one of the things that's also critical too is, providing that sister support, and I have been, working with, I know Shonda was on your show, was on the Physicians Forum, but also just providing that support, for her and getting her connected with other folks and, and making sure of that. And you got her connected with Reverend Tam, so that way we can make sure that she has all the resources that she needs. But it was a loving coming together and loving on our sister, coming together and making sure that she had what she needed. And so looking at beyond that too, making sure that when you have that community, how do you bring those community of members together to make sure that that one community member has what they need, especially when they're going through all of this and all these health issues.
Do you think this time that we're living in now is further impacting our health? With all the things that are happening, protesting and, just that's the economical uncertainty. Do you think this is impacting our health?
Absolutely. And it's definitely impacting our mental health. Yeah.
Definitely from a mental health standpoint. You know, we were so used to doing, and now you've been forced to stop, to sit and be with yourself. Okay. And if you ain't never been with yourself to understand who you are
Mm-hmm.
now realizing, oh my God, who am I? Do I like this person? You know?
Right.
And so that's also another part of it
Right.
when it comes to that, you know, mental standpoint, you know. Right. And if you are single and alone and you live alone, that has another layer on top of it, because you were getting your energy and getting your stuff from other folks. You know, that outside energy, that's how you were refueling yourself. And now you have to figure out, how do I refuel? How do I pour into my own cup to be able to give out? And so that's one thing there. And I think there's a lot with this screen time, a lot with this blue tech light. You know, I don't know, you know, and you know, how many folks are sitting in front of this, and it's just, what is it doing to our eyes?
Oh, true.
Our brains,
yes.
You know, and our heads and stuff like that. And so, you know, that's a lot with this. We are zooming all the time, you know, all these things. What does that have to do with it? A couple of things that probably have come out of this, you know, I've heard that people have done Zoom family parties to where you know, get with your family, extended family. I was able to Zoom with my family. I have a cousin in Japan who's able to pop in and stuff like that and see those folks that you probably haven't talked to in a long time. You know, their folks have gotten to know their neighbors a little bit more, probably their eating habits, because you see what food is being delivered to your neighbors, you know, all the time. And so there's some positives that have come out of this, you know, but also too, we have to look at this from a long-term perspective. We cannot go back to what it was, because what it was not working on so many levels. So we have to figure out, what does our new normal look like, you know, you know, as well. But I do think from a mental health perspective, I like how we have talked about this, you know, on different TV shows, like Insecure has addressed the mental health issue, as well as there's a whole mental health network for men that has come out as well. There is a Liberty app for meditation just for Black folks. It has centered people of color and centered Black folks during this time. And so how do we continue to find resources like that and get that out to our folks? Because we have got to stop thinking that we can pray everything away.
Amen. And I will say
right. And you know, I just have to jump in here on mental health.
We've talked about this. Reverend Tammy and I talked about this.
Listen, I go to church and I got a therapist, and I have a therapist. Trust me on that. Yeah. I'm sorry, Plachette, go ahead.
Well, you know, I just have to jump in here on the mental health issue. You know, I always say it's about exercise and nutrition. We have got to address our own personal health issues. It's I always say this, and you guys probably see me in the mornings, is address is going to help you mentally, physically, and spiritually. Okay. So however way you can get it in, like I say, everybody don't like to squat, but Dr. Holmes brings up a really good point. Being with ourselves, COVID-19 has brought that in with, you know, the lockdown and people not being able to do what they really can do and be with other folks or go to your normal job. Jobs gave people outlets. Now they're at home with their children and their children are home from school. And could you imagine that whole 12 to 24-hour day? And you usually be gone for 8 hours a day. And my kids is grown. Thank you, Jesus.
You might not even like the people.
But you know, I think it's just really. But yeah, get into your exercise program, whatever that may be. Going for a nice long walk in your neighborhood. Can't go to the gyms. I mean, not all gyms are open. You know, go to the park. There's a Venetia's program, Unitone, is bomb. Now, you know, that's not something that I can do because it's later in the morning. That's why I tell people, find something on YouTube, do it in the comfort of, you know, it's all about utilizing your space, right? Your backyard, your patio, your bedroom. I mean, and you're not in a race with nobody. You know, this is about really getting into yourself. And then your nutrition, drinking plenty of water. You know, I think what we eat sometimes has a lot to do with, you know, how we feel and project during the day, going forward in the future.
Definitely.
For sure.
I've become a Black birder, you know, as a direct result of what happened in New York. And so I got a chance to do that. I've been walking and hearing birds. I ordered me some binoculars. I got me some gear to go out and find birds.
Wonderful.
And so I've been enjoying that, especially in the mornings, and trying to figure out how do I bring some of these birds to my little apartment, you know. And so that's one thing that I did, you know, during this Corona time. And so they had a whole week of celebrating Black birders. And so I've learned a couple of words, and so I've gotten into that, and I'm a little excited, you know, to go on my first birding with that and join the Audubon. I mean, I did it all. I had to talk to Dr. Pan on advocating on behalf of birds, or when I jumped in. Okay, I jumped in.
Right on.
You know what? And to add to that, this all sounds good, and we have to take into consideration when we are functioning from a place of trauma. Psychologically, we can't just get up and go walk. You know, it takes some mental healing, some emotional healing before we can even get there. And so as Black women, what I often do is give women permission to just stop. I give them permission to cry. I give them permission to not do anything that day. I give them permission to leave the laundry, to not do the dishes. And it's okay, because many of us feel guilty when we start to take care of ourselves. And so I give people permission to pause, and maybe they can't walk a mile, but I literally start saying, hey, go from wherever you live and the front door out to the street, and then start walking to the corner.
That's right.
And then start going around the block. I told the sister the other day.
Baby steps.
I told the sister the other day, I said, I know you can't go, you know, walk here or there. I said, but the next time you go to the grocery store, or you go to the doctor, don't be mad that you can't get that front parking spot. Park, you know, in the back or a distance away, and start getting your steps in there, and then start building from there.
I want to shout out Sister Alana, because she started that 21-day challenge. And that started me to walking 5 miles through this whole thing. So I was like, I just didn't feel like walking. I think trauma looks different for different people. Sometimes that word almost feels like a new tagline. Yes. Even if you're filthy rich, you're still dealing with trauma. Trauma shows up very differently. I mean, if you're Black in America, you're living in trauma.
Yes.
Period.
People don't realize that.
You have to think through trauma when we're in certain areas. That's traumatic. When you have to always think about how you feel because of who you are and how people are perceiving you as a Black person. That is traumatic in itself. But Alana just was like, hey, we're going to do this 21-day challenge. And that was like 3-4 months ago. And I'm still walking 5 miles. And my health has improved. And I feel
I love it.
Walking, it helped me mentally deal with some of my own stuff. Because when you're walking, that's why I can't do the treadmill, because it's like standing in place. But when you're walking through a neighborhood, I've met people that lived in my neighborhood I didn't know lived in my neighborhood because they are walking. You know, it just helps you to reconnect with the earth and air and water and fire. And I think sometimes we forget that that the earth has all of these awesome elements, but we don't always see it and we don't always cherish it.
And I think it's important to notice that people aren't saying, you know, this Corona is trauma. We have all gone through this trauma. And then on top of that, like you said, if you're Black in America, you're honestly constantly going through trauma. Every day is traumatic, you know, and so I think that we really have to realize that this is traumatic because we have all been off our kilter because of what has happened and because of how Corona has made us all stop and pause, which is something that we would have never done for ourselves anyway, right? And I know we would not have, you know, as a people.
I think it's
so much.
And I think it's so traumatizing every time you get on social media. You see somebody either got shot, somebody hang themselves, or I mean, and that whole thing is traumatizing. And I'm just like, we got to learn how to really take social media breaks. We got to take a break from the news, having the TV on, or, you know, always logging on every minute. I'm talking to myself right now because it's like, you don't have to look at every notification. I mean, we really do need to step back from social media and realize, okay, you know, people would tell me, have a certain time of the day you check your email, and don't check your email for the next 8 hours, right? Or one day you're not going to get on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. You just gonna take a break and you're gonna go for that nice long walk in the neighborhood, or you're gonna take a drive, or you know, you're just gonna do errands all day and you're not gonna even have your phone with you. How about just leaving your phone at home?
Yeah.
Who does that when you go to a restaurant?
That's so
But when we did go to restaurants, sometimes I would leave my phone purposely
in the car,
not have it while I'm, you know, with people. That's so stupid to bring your phone and you haven't you know, a social with people at a restaurant. You should leave your phone in the car, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. How important does history play a part in this moment and all that we're talking about? Because we're looking at life expectancies of Black folks. And back in the day, we was under some real harsh physical conditions. I mean, how important is looking at your own family history, your history as a people, to the moment where we are right now?
We know that our DNA has been changed because of that. We know post-traumatic slave syndrome is there. That research is there, and folks have got to recognize that. And that we know that because of what happened, it has altered who we are and what we do. And so we have to somehow break the curse, you know, or go on another path when it comes to how do we, like I said, you know, watch what we eat and getting out and doing those things. We know this. It is scientifically proven that those things, that it has completely altered who we are. And as you said, life expectancies as well.
Right.
That's real talk.
Yeah, you know, when we built a program in Africa, and I was amazed at the similarities between the American women and the African women. We did things slightly differently, but ultimately it was the same outcome. What I noticed, though, is that the African women, despite their lack of access to care for breast cancer, had more stamina and more energy than the American women did. I think it's because, you know, of that cultural. The African women, they still walk every day. You know, we just went talking about exercise. We talked about the food that we eat. Well, many of the African women still live that way. You know, they don't have cars. You know, they don't have public transportation is intense. You know, you ever seen, you know, a bus that probably seats 30 people? There's like 85 to 100 people on that bus.
Right.
And it's hot. There's no air conditioning. Right. But so they walk. And it blew my mind to see how primal, and I say that in a positive, they still lived. One thing that caught my attention was they had rolling blackouts in Ghana. We were in a restaurant, the lights went out. All of the foreigners, we were all freaking out, getting our phones, getting our flashlights on our phones, freaking out. The Africans, they didn't miss a beat. Right? So then we leave and it's pitch black. Driving through the streets, but people are still moving and functioning. And I said, well, how are they functioning with no light? They said, because we don't know when we're going to have it. So we don't depend on it. We learn how to coexist without all of the extras. So we talk about how our history plays a part. I think as Americans, we have become so disconnected from our roots because of the access that we have to all of these first world amenities. And it limits us from being able to actually really, really thrive in the event that you know, we can't turn on the light. We freak out, or we can't have access to internet or things like that. That's why I love Miss Mariana. Miss Mariana is always about trying to get the community to make these survival kits, because when stuff goes down, you can't go get it.
Right.
You gotta already have it prepared. We are
the
not
blackout
prepared.
is coming.
Yeah, we thank you. We are not prepared for the blackout.
We're not.
Yeah.
We're not. I know where to go.
And as a people, we should be. Because of who we historically,
we should.
What we've endured, what we've been through. I mean, our people are amazing.
Yes, we are.
Many of us survived the Middle Passage. How do we know? Because we're here.
That's right. That's right.
We're here. And if they can
yes.
that our DNA may have shifted, but that's still in us.
It is.
That is still who we are. And if
It
we
is.
can get
It is.
back to that mentality,
Mm.
then I think we'll be in a better place.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to ask you all this since I have you together. When you look at certain movements and people are wanting to help Black folks, I guess, is it important for them to know our history in order to help us?
I say yes.
Absolutely.
I say
Yes.
yes. Yeah.
And no one's going to know everybody's history in depth, but having an idea and having a thought, but also putting yourself in the shoes to do some of that research, to understand what's happening, to be able to understand that what happened 400 years ago does affect what happens today. I think you have to know that if you're going to try to come and be into our community and help us and be an ally. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Aisha says, yes, period. You have to know our history. Right. No one's going to know it all in depth. You're not going to know every single piece of it, but you have got to become familiar with it. But also to put yourself in the shoes to do that more research, to read those books, and to do that. But before you're asking us to educate you, we don't have time to bring you up to speed. Because we're also still bringing our own self up to speed. And here you want me to say, well, how can I help you? That then puts the onus on me. And then I'm trying to, once again, find my own help, and so I think
that's more trauma.
Exactly. You're just trying to, have me go through trauma once again. And so I tell the allies, our white allies, please do the work. Do the work. There has been many resources put out there, book lists. There are courses. There's a free course that Yale just put out where it takes you through that about African American history that they put out. You are more than welcome to all that information. But before you decide to come into our community and want to do X, Y, and Z, you got to learn ABC.
Because I find it hard to liberate yourself and your oppressor too. I think no other groups gets asked to do that but us.
No one.
It's like you think Harriet Tubman waited to crop season was over to leave?
No.
Like we're gonna fix their crops first, then we're gonna leave. It's like we leaving, right? So with that being said, I guess I was trying to pull this up. So I guess there was an African American reparations bill passed at the California Assembly. Are y'all familiar with that? And do you know what that means?
I am familiar with it. I have not had a chance to read it. I'm sorry. I was doing a conference yesterday.
No. Because I heard African
happened on Friday.
I'm like, what is that?
I saw Shirley Weber, right? She did it, or
yes,
who did it.
I know that.
Yes,
I was and that's all I know about it as well.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah, that's all I know about it as well.
I'm sorry. I know we just said we didn't know our own history, but
no, that just passed though. That just passed.
That just happened.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that is, what that's really about. When you hear something like that, I guess this bill goes to the Senate, but what does that incur? Because I feel like Black people got to have some conversations around what does reparations look like, because everybody don't want a college scholarship. I want money, cash, and some land. That's what I want. I want something I want to build something for my own to leave, like generational wealth, which you can find in land and things like that. But what would that look like?
Well, for me, the minute you said that, I already have a reaction to that. Is you're giving me land that was already stolen from some people already. And so how do we look at that? How do we, reconcile that with our Native Americans? When this, you know what I'm saying? And so, college isn't for everybody. I made my career. My career will live on a college campus to the time I die, because I know that. But it's not for everybody, and we cannot push that on everybody to go there. First of all, we don't have enough seats for everybody. If everybody want to
better say that
talk about it.
We don't have that, you know what I'm saying? And so people have got to figure out what that looks like. I would like the money. Of course I want the money. I still got student loans I got to take care of with this degree. You know what I mean? But I am hard pressed to go and say, give me land, when we need to reconcile how we work this and how this land was taken from Native Americans, already. And so what does that look like? And how does that work in partnership in conjunction with, with that? But in terms of that, we still have 400 years of what we have built and what we have done and what our bodies have given to this place.
I agree.
I agree.
And I'm just purposes. I'm saying land because that's between white people and Native Americans. That has nothing to do because I'm stolen.
Well,
I'm stolen, and
that.
I worked the land that was stolen. So
Yes.
that I'm just going to be flat out honest. That has not that Native American piece has nothing to do with my black butt because my ancestors were stolen, and so it to me I think black people we never have a rooted place in this country.
Right.
That's why the South always looks so good to me because at least you can understand. You know, it's a root you can see.
Yeah.
But we are 7 out of 10 homes in California is owned by an Asian. And we're wondering why we're so unstable and why you can't really see black power.
Right.
Yeah.
Or black life or black community or black, because everybody, especially in Sacramento, they have a root. Asians have come here, they have broken it down by their ethnic group.
Yep.
And they done carved out a place. Even the Africans coming directly from the continent are doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing. And they're buying land and
I mean, they're finding their niche. And there's nothing wrong with that. But with us, it's kind of like, if we have reparations, can we have some conversations around what would that really look like? We know we all not gonna want the same thing. I get it.
We're not a monolith.
We gotta have a root somewhere.
Right.
We're not all the same. We have got to get to that. You know, even though we know that we can go to everybody's Thanksgiving house, you might have the same 5 or 6, 7 foods on the, eating for Thanksgiving. We are not the same.
Right.
All black folks are not the same. We don't all look alike, and we're not the same. So we all don't want the same things, and we've got to be able to understand that.
Right.
And people got to keep putting us all in the same barrel. We're not the same.
Right.
I agree.
And I think, Rolanda, the onus is on those of us that are aware of what's happening with this type of legislation to go do our work, educate ourselves, and then insert our voices. We are women who we don't wait for a seat at the table. We go bring our chair and pull up and say,
Shirley Chisholm taught us right. Bring our own chair.
I'm gonna squeeze in here right back, and then we squeeze ourselves into that conversation to say some of the things that we are saying right here, because like Dr. Aja said, we are not a monolith, and we are all going to do different things with it. But if they give us cash, we get to choose how we will use that cash.
Say that.
I'm just saying.
Like what you just said.
I'm just
No,
saying.
that's real talk. I just wonder when, I know these conversations must be happening. Just because I don't know about them, they're not happening. But I just feel like we gotta, at some point, really start talking, because now that it's here, some people thought they never live to see what we ever talked about reparations. You ever say, dang, it'll never happen. Well, I don't know.
Everyone else has gotten it. Everyone else has gotten it. Everyone else, they've gotten it for concentration camps.
Yep.
Everyone else has gotten some type of something, except for us. And I'm just, why are we always left out? Are we most hated, most disrespected group? Here, but always, no one, everyone else got something. Yeah.
And I'm just gonna,
a good question, sis.
Address something that I don't know if it's an elephant in the room, but what saddens me is that unfortunately, as a people, we're often in different, we're on different pages. Like I think that we're on the same page here in this conversation. You might want land. Dr. Aja might want education. I might want health, and Plachette might want to make sure that everybody is well informed. But we can be. Is something going on?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay, we can all be on the same page, though.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we have to be on the different pages. And so what happens? We're in different pots, and so we advocate for different components, and then it splits us versus us being able to be a united voice, and that concerns me.
I agree. Plachette, was you trying to say something? I think Plachette's struggling with her internet or something. Okay, she'll come back in. She's frozen right now. I think she's trying to say something. I hear you. I think, how could I say this? All the other groups are just as divided. The only thing that they have that's a plus for them is that they can agree on who they are.
Okay.
Because Asians, you have a whole bunch of different ethnic groups with Asians. They have colorism inside their own stuff, but somehow they really understand who they all are. Like we'll still be debating: are we black? Are we colored? Are we African American? Are we polka dot booty stripe? I mean, it just you just can never be like, okay, we're all black. Let's move to the or whatever. Or like, I don't really care what you are. We know we're old something. Let's just go get it.
Let's go get it. I'm on your team.
Right.
Our struggle is not linear.
On that same page. I'm not gonna lie.
Say it again.
We just not, but we have to learn something that our enemies learn. Every time we do something, our enemy always figure out how to use it for his own gain.
Yep.
He always figure out a way to show up to the party. Like, we're gonna turn into a love fest. Wait a minute. Right. How we go from the day before tearing things down and today we out doing let you slide? Something's wrong with that.
Something's wrong with it. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how we get there, but I mean, I've seen that a lot. Where, 1 minute we all up there, we want our rights, and then the next we you know what I'm saying?
I do. I
do. I'm just gonna be very honest. Candace Owens, I don't know Candace Owens. I'm not a supporter of her, but I've seen so many Black women disrespect her and then turn around and talk about nobody respects Black women. Look, I could disagree with her, but I'm not going to call her a bunch of bees. I'm not going to. But I've seen people call her bed wenches, but she's a Black woman at the end of the day, and I'm not going to participate in disrespecting another Black woman.
Right, I agree.
Even though I may disagree with her 100%, or
I disagree with her.
But I've seen Black people do that to her.
Yeah.
I've seen Black folks sign on to hating her immediately and don't get that kind of energy to their open enemy.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And she has some very diabolical thoughts and ideas and things of that nature. And I just reference, Get Out, and I just say hashtag sunk in place.
Yeah. But I also know she's experienced just as much trauma as all of us in this room. Because we only know her because she's with the enemy. If she was with us, she'd be invisible.
Yep.
Well, you have said it. That's the mic drop right there. That's the mic drop. That's the mic drop.
That's really sad because we only see her because she's with the enemy. That's the only reason we see this girl.
Wow.
I'm just using her as an example. I don't agree. I'm from old school Black people. I'll just step over you.
Right.
Because really, she can't hurt me at all.
Right.
Something's happened to her.
Of course. Yeah.
Something's told. Why is she over there with people who clearly hate her guts, but she rolling with them anyway? What happened at our table that there was no place for her?
I was going to say something, and whatever happened to her that came from us.
You better, I ain't got no fan.
Yeah.
I ain't got no fan. You don't make me fall out this chair because that's the root of this. And then we're gonna get to like it's look, y'all. As
no one wants to talk about
take responsibility for each other. Like my mom, old school. My mom used to be like, "Look, I don't know them. You mine."
Right.
You don't get to tell what's going on. We haven't done that yet with each other. And I'm only using her as just an example.
Yeah.
I don't know this chick at all. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I just don't know her, but I just feel some kind of way. I just be like, y'all, why are we calling her a bunch of bees? Why are we doing that?
Right. Oh yeah. And you can take her out and insert next Black woman and it'll be the same thing.
Because don't nobody know about you. I just see another Black woman. Don't nobody care about your background. You think the police be like, well, this is a Black person with like this, but they don't care.
Right.
Y'all, let me interject and read Plachette's comments because Plachette lost her connection. She said, lost my connection, but was going to address this. The task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans would consist of 8 members, at least 4 of which would represent major civil society and reparations organizations. The governor would be required to convene the group for its first meeting no later than June 1st, 2021. Congress held its first hearing in over a decade on a federal bill to study reparations, but the legislation never made it to a vote. The federal government has oh Lord, the thing jumped. Hold on 1 second, y'all. The federal government has in the past given reparations, awarding $20,000 to each surviving victim of Japanese internment camps. And that happened in 1988.
Okay, I think Plachette's trying to say something. Go ahead, Plachette.
Oh, here.
I keep hearing her coming in. And thank you, though, Plachette. Look at that press purpose right there. So she kind of gave me some background. I don't know how much studying you can do on reparations. It happened. We're here. Run me my check. No, I'm just kidding.
And I need more than $20,000.
Yes, right.
Oh, I know, huh?
I'm gonna need a little more than 20,000.
Real talk.
Uh-huh.
Real talk.
Mhm.
Real talk.
I heard a figure somewhere that the figure would be 375,000 per person. And I don't have the receipts on it, but I read that
Can you
somewhere.
guys hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you now, Plachette. She just read your statement. Thank you for that.
Can you
Did she
guys
have
hear me?
dial-up? Did she have dial-up?
Did you say dollar?
Dr.
I mean,
Aja, really?
like a cord.
Run me my check.
Oh,
The Wi-Fi is not working.
yeah.
Plachette said, run me my check. I heard that part.
Right on.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, she said that's what I'm saying. Run me my check.
Thank you for that information. So basically, it should probably say study reparation or look into it. Because
Right.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I don't know how you need to do that. If you just look at our condition or historically on YouTube, they have all of these historical documentaries talking about redlining and I mean just all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that itself, that's a case right there for reparations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not even counting slavery.
Right. Right.
But I think it's important.
Oh, okay.
For us to
Can
also,
you
got it. Oh,
Did you push that?
Jesus.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Ho.
I think it's important for us to also identify all the different ways that systemic racism has really lended itself in terms of our breakdown, but also too, it has benefited white folks.
I don't know why.
Shit is trying to get
Wi-Fi.
They're struggling.
I know.
Oh, Plachette.
I can't say nothing. I came on late.
Hey, Jean laughed at the dollar.
I didn't mean that.
I didn't heard dollar in a minute.
I've been like
April.
to a wall. Like I came to my office to not do Wi-Fi because I wanted to make sure it worked.
Right on, right on. And sister, I'm trying to show y'all some of the comments as well. And our dear sister Jacqueline was basically also responding to the thing with Candace Owens in terms of calling out a name and David Chappelle saying that her vagina stinks. Like shit like that. Like why would he be saying that?
I don't know why. And he's called her out of all names. And I watched that special that he put on. You know, I do think he's a brilliant, comedian. I think he is really aware when it comes to social issues. But that one there, it was a bit much for me.
Yeah, I also think he's a bit of a misogynist. And I think we got to talk about that in our community.
Yeah.
With black men, like we out there stomping for them, or are they stomping
for us? For a lot of things.
Yeah, there's about 6 of them stomping for us.
Just 6.
Not you. But that's all I'm saying, because I like David Chappelle, but I always look at the whole package of a person.
Well, and for me with Dave Chappelle, he's a comedian. I mean, he refers to women as the B word, and he refers to men as the N word. So for me, I don't put too much weight on that. What I took from his stand-up was his pain.
Yes.
I took the trauma and the pain that he is personally experiencing as it relates to George Floyd's death. Yeah, he said some crazy stuff about Candace Owens and, but the points that he made
were spot on.
They were spot on. They were spot on.
He had a lot of connections, and he talked about, he says, how many black people have been invited to the White House before we had our black president. He talked about how his great-great-grandfather, whom he's named for, was one of the people who was invited there. And he talked about how, this person, they were, and how his birthday is connected to the death of George Floyd and how that happened. I mean, he had a lot of different things to say about that and how he has continues to be bothered by all that.
Right.
I think you could talk about your feelings without adding to the problem, because that adds to trauma. I don't care about none of this stuff he's talking about. To be honest with you, I think we gotta stop the disrespect of black women.
Yes. Mhm.
Like we have
agree. I do agree.
377 black women, almost 400 black women murdered at the hands of black men. Haven't heard
I
them say
agree.
nothing about that.
Yeah, I
Like
agree with
it's
you.
so obvious in our community that we have a lot of respect and protection for black men. But black women don't get that same thing.
No, we don't.
And let
And
me
so
clarify what I'm saying. I agree.
I
He
get
should
you.
not,
I agree
that
also.
language should be changed just overall. Not saying that that it's okay, but I'm saying I didn't put any weight on it because that's just
I get what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying.
No, I understand that.
But I'm not defending him at all. I'm not.
No.
I mean, I don't follow Dave Chappelle because of those reasons.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree.
yeah,
It's kind of like having the black people
That's
have to
real, though.
always sift through shit to get a prize.
Mhm.
We are always having to sift through things,
Yeah.
you know, instead of because he would never, as much as he'd be pissed off at Jewish people, he would dare not say that about them.
Mhm.
Because they will cut his whole checkered head off
Mm.
because they're
That's
that
true.
valuable. And so you can't tell me that like I value black people, but I'm gonna shit on the life bringers of black people.
Right. That's real.
Like that don't
real.
even make no sense to even do that. Like you can disagree with her, but you know what I mean? Like you have bigger fish to fry. Like
And
stay on that white man that supposedly have your foot on your neck. Stay on him.
And this is
That part.
rooted in self-hate. It's rooted in self-hate. And you cannot tell me that you're going to hate on someone else or
Right.
call someone else out of their name when something's not right inside you.
Inside.
Because you're projecting what's going on with you. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Mhm.
And so we have to be able to work through that. And that's why I also say you have to do the work. You know, if you are disrespecting and calling somebody out of their name, you know, what's going on internally with you that you're wrestling with.
Right.
So we have a lot of self-hate in our community, you know, from colorism to, you know, hair, you know, good, black, not good, you know, hair.
Right.
We have got to figure out how to do the work.
We have to dismantle that for ourselves.
Yes.
No ally gonna bring you that.
Right.
We're the only ones that can do it. And I agree. I agree 100%. No, I'm a black woman, so I'm about lifting up black women for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right on. That's so true, man. That was a good one. I just was like, I was just, you know, I always get invited to stuff, but sometimes it gets a little tiring for me just to always be explaining to people our history. And not just people who look like us, but just the so-called allies. That I feel like mammy sometimes. Like I don't want to be caring for you right now when I'm trying to take care of myself.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I'm trying to heal myself.
Right.
Why I gotta consider you all the damn time?
Right.
Don't you know slavery is over?
Right.
So I feel like I don't do that no more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
April Jean has a comment. You want to read that because it's really long. When your comment is really long, I can't post it. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'll go ahead and
long.
I'll read it.
Okay.
April Michelle Jean. I'm late, but Candace Owens is an opportunist. It is widely known that she switched her views up for political clout. These were not her political views in college and early in her career. She is a clear example of a collaborator. She aligned herself with the oppressors for fame and social status. I agree that we should not disrespect us, but she is no friend to us, family.
And I don't disagree with that. That's what I said. Like, I'm not trying to, but I just got to challenge that a little bit, April, because she's a black woman at the end of the day. And if the two of y'all were standing at the bus stop, ain't nobody going to know she a collaborator. Like, every time you disrespect her, you disrespect me, because she's a black woman. I'm a black woman. We don't really get to pick and choose who get to be our family, you know, just because they have a different political view. I would show up for her if somebody shot her in the street like I would for George Floyd, who I didn't even know. And that's the problem with black people.
Mama Ro, everybody is not there. Everybody is not where you are.
Exactly.
You know, and that there is the key part about it. And when we have to do that work internally, everybody's not there. And we'll do that because they're going to go and they're going to pull her history and pull this, that, the third, and say that when we're like, hey, doesn't matter what, she's a black woman and she's experienced this. Let's show up. And maybe that's showing up might be what she needs in order for her to say, hey, sis, we got you. You can come home.
Right.
Right.
That's
Right.
what I'm trying to say.
That is
You
that
know what?
part right
That's
there.
why you Dr. Holmes.
Well, but also if we look at her and we look at George Floyd, who, you know, it's starting to be revealed that he had a very colorful history. Well, let's call it that.
Yes.
Right. The differences in how people are protecting him and his colorful history versus Candace Owens, who we don't know her history. And what you just said, Dr. Aja, you know, how she got there. What did we do to her to push her out there and not feel welcome? Because typically when we divest, it is something that we have done to us.
Yes. And when we've got to, those formative years are important. That's why they make so many movies about high school and how those 4 years and high school years and those years, trust me, there was many times where I was the only Black kid or maybe one of 4 Black kids in my Catholic school. And so, yes, we're vying for the attention of whites. We're vying for who's going to assimilate the best. We're vying for the fact of who's going to get invited to the parties and things of that nature. And I know for a fact, and I had to work through some of this, that because I sound the way I sound, you know, I got teased about that. You know, and then I moved to an all-Black high school or an all-Black and Latino high school. And so they were like, why you sound like that? And here I am. And why you getting all these grades and making these grades kind of mean something else? I had to work through that in order to be who I am today, to not to move beyond that, because that's hurtful. That is deep pain when you see somebody like you doing this to you because of where you come from or because of you don't have the new Jordans or the new Clinton. Your hair looks like this when water touches it. You know what I'm saying?
Right on.
We have to be able to tease out that, you know, somebody asked, is there a mobile mental health unit? You know, I think that's a great idea. Someone asked in the question, how do we get to that? So that way people can show up at people's homes, you know, and do that work. Sometimes it's hard to get out of your house to then go and find a therapist. People don't know, how do you even find a therapist? Is it through my insurance? How do I even get through that? You know, but is there a mobile mental health unit that can come to folks' homes and we can do this from the comfort of your living room, the comfort of your kitchen table? You know, like Carrie's Touch goes to the kitchen table. We're going to slice these peas and do these things. That there is our roots. You know, that there is our history. And so we have to realize that those things that happen to those people when you are young, those formative years, has a lasting impact. They wouldn't make movies about high school and how, you know, you got the jocks, you got the popular kids, you got this, you got that, how that hasn't had lasting effects, you know, on folks. And we have to be able to, how do you figure out and how do you tease out some of that so that way you're able to then give and able to reconcile and know that it's not because of you.
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing is, and I don't mean to keep bringing up Candace Owens, I think sometimes the catalyst don't always show up the way we think it's going to show up. That was like George Floyd death sparked off something that was already ready to get sparked off. One time it just busted open. Same thing with Candace Owens. When I hear people telling me about her, and it's kind of like, but if you're a Black woman, you look at her and you know you can see part of yourself. You just talked about that, like where you've been. A lot of us could have been in that same circle where she is, taking the abuse from the other side because you're so sick of taking it from the side you're on. You know what I mean? And so even though I don't agree with whatever it is that she's doing, somehow I understand why she's on the other side. I just chose to deal with my trauma so I can make sure I'm on the side I'm supposed to be on.
Right.
I have to look at her. That'd be like seeing a sister prostituting and passing judgment on her instead of asking, how did she get there?
How'd you get there? That's the question.
And what kept you from going there? You know what I'm saying? We don't do that kind of work because we know it's almost an anti-Black woman thing. We get all of this pressure. Black women should do this. We should know this. But we don't never get that comfort, that nourishment, that somebody saying it's okay. Come as you are, as we always talked about. It's kind of like being in church and people saying, why are you wearing pants instead of a skirt? It's like, but I'm here, goddammit. Like, take me as I am.
That part.
I think we struggle with that.
Well, Mama Ro, I did a TED Talk called Toxic Strength.
Ooh, it's fabulous.
This is what we're talking about, right? It addresses the fact that we don't have permission, going back to that permission thing, because the expectation is because we're Black women, we can continue to endure trauma without it having any impact on us mentally, physically, psychologically, emotionally, financially.
Mm.
And we still have to show up, perform better with less
Yep.
resources than anybody else. Malcolm X said that the Black woman is the most disrespected person
Ugh,
in the United States at that time. That's, he said that in the United, but I think we're the most disrespected people in the world.
I agree.
And if you add to what Dr. Aja just said, we bring in colorism.
Yep.
We bring in size. I grew up, I was thin as a young girl in high school and in college and all that, but I was dark. I was called Black Grease Monkey by Black
Mm.
people. I was shamed for my complexion by
Yep.
Black people.
You better tell it.
So if it wasn't for the one Black person, my aunt, rest in peace, who said, I don't care what anybody says about you, you are beautiful. And I want you to tell yourself that you are beautiful every single day. I want you to look in that mirror and understand that you are beautiful. You don't need makeup. You don't need jewelry. You don't need hair.
Right on.
You can use all of those things if you want to, but you don't need them.
Right
So
on.
know that you are beautiful. I had that in my life, but how many of our little Black girls don't have that?
Exactly.
You better say that.
You know,
Right.
and so how many of them, the little baby that y'all saw the video, the baby that was getting her hair combed by a stylist and she was crying and saying she was ugly.
Mhm.
I celebrate that sister that stopped and she said, oh
Right
no,
on.
that's not the language we're going to use.
Exactly.
You are beautiful. And we have to, and I don't just tell our girls that they're beautiful because I don't want them to get stuck on beauty.
Right on.
I don't want them to get stuck there. Okay, I need you to have something with that beauty.
Yes.
Right
Because
on.
beauty is only going to take you so far.
You better say that.
Everybody's cute. What next? What do you have next?
Exactly.
And so in my talk about toxic strength, I'm addressing some of these ills that we as Black women and Black people don't have the privilege to not feel and to not perform. And when we do, we got to show up, face made, hair laid, outfit paid. Oh, I'm a poet, no. But we got to show up and not have anybody see what's really going on behind the surface.
I think it's critical. Someone said in the comments, we have to ask what happened, not what's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be able to say, baby, what happened?
Right
Talk to me about what happened, because something has had to happen in order for this to happen, right?
Yep.
I'm also very concerned about Black folks who like to be the only one.
Mm.
You know, I think that there is a trauma-filled lifestyle as well. To be the only one in a room, always want to be the only one among whites, the only among one this, you know, I have concerns. It just doesn't sit well in my soul. I don't have the words to really tease that out, but it just doesn't sit well with me for someone who celebrates and who wants to be the constant only one.
Right.
I think there's something wrong with that, you know, and they said, you know, someone said, my good friend Kay on here said, we need to change our mindset. Stop being toxic and more supportive and understanding.
Yeah.
That is critical. And that's where it starts with the mental health. And it starts with you getting that work, doing that self-work to understand, to be able to answer for yourself what happened. You know, I was teased because I was raised by my father. You know, my dad stepped up in our third grade but in a community where many people didn't see their fathers, I saw mine on a constant basis. And so that made me very different, you know? You know, and then being sometimes the only one in the black person with all the whites, because I was at a Catholic school, you know, my hair doesn't move all the time like yours. And so I had to wrestle with all of that, you know, and I had locks for 10 years because, you know, they have been in the lab for 10 years trying to figure out how do we celebrate our curls. You know what I'm saying? Wave Nouveau and White Rain was all we had back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But how do we celebrate this and bring this out? You know what I'm saying? And so I had to wrestle with that, with myself, and I had a really good support system that also helped that. You know, like Reverend Tammy said, you know, thank God for my aunt, thank God for my dad's sisters who helped me through that as well. But that's and my cousins, and we have to look at where does our support system come from, and how do we cultivate that support system as well?
Right.
Ooh, y'all, we done said a mouthful up in here today.
There's some good comments in here
It
too.
really is. And I think that we got to look at that. So I guess my next question for y'all would be, how do we begin to dismantle this self-hatred? Because, you know, so here's the thing, we'll be asking white people not to be white supremacists, but we over here doing self-hatred. How do we deal with dismantling self-hatred?
The first thing is honesty, being honest with yourself and self-reflection. I don't have all the answers, but I think that is the first thing.
I think that's critical. And I'm going to talk about, you know, that you have to do the work in ourselves and have to be honest with ourselves. How are we showing up in spaces? What energy? And we have to be responsible for the energy that we're bringing to these spaces, you know? And then also we have to be able to do some self-reflection to figure out, how am I being a reflection, you know, of my environment? And so we have to be able to do that. I think mentoring, and I think strengthening our mentoring, you know, circles and our mentoring programs, because not everybody is going to have, you know, an aunt or someone else to be able to do that. Sometimes getting connected with a mentor, you know, does that. And Mama Ro has a really good mentoring program, you know, that she has, because sometimes that has to be the community or has to be the space to be able to bring those little sisters up.
Right on.
Yeah. You know, when I work, and I agree with what everyone has said so far, and adding on to what Dr. Aja just said about mentoring, one of the things I do in one of my workshops is called Breaking the Superwoman Syndrome, trying to be all things to all people all the time perfectly while suffering alone in silence. One of our first exercises that we do is we ask everybody to surrender their phones. Bring your phone up to the front, put it on the table, turn it off. It's always a telling thing when there's that person whose phone rings in the back, and there's no judgment. They don't have to do it, but it's a request. The second thing I do is I pass out mirrors. And based on my aunt, I ask every woman to look in the mirror, and I ask her to tell us what she sees. And then I ask the person next to her to tell us what she sees in that other woman. 90% of the time, the woman will say, I've got big lips, I've got a big nose, my skin is too dark, my hair is too nappy, and I don't like that word, but you know, my hair is too nappy, or something negative about what she looks like. And the intention behind this exercise is to get her to be able to see what we see in her. So as the woman sitting beside her celebrates her, oh, your lips are big and they're beautiful. You know, your hair is different than mine. And I love it. I wish you know what I mean? Whatever it might be. And this is dealing with young girls, so they're not that deep. It's giving people space to be seen, because quite often we're invisible. I am a full-figured, dark-skinned, 5'8.5" woman. Do you know how many times I go in spaces and people say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. How did you not see me?
That's real talk.
Right? So giving these women, these young girls, a place to be seen. And then one of the things that we do is we partner them up so that they have an ally that looks like them.
Yes.
Because community is critical. Yes, we can be honest with ourselves. Yes, we can do the work. But if we are doing it by ourselves, that's a long, hard journey. They need to have somebody else connected to them. You can take that from young girls that are, you know, elementary school to middle school, to high school, to college, to grown women. I'm currently in a group with sisters. There's about 17 of us, and we stay connected. We'll do different activities. Maybe there'll be 10 that shows up at this one, 5 that shows up at that one. But if any one of us needs anything, you can bet your bottom dollar at least 16 to all 17 of us show up to be able to celebrate and support our sisters. We all look differently. We all have different situations. And I think we begin that by making sure that our girls are seen.
Yeah.
We let them know that we see them and help them to build community, to be able, safe community, to be able to do the work.
I like how this Sister Aisha Engel talked about empathy and teaching empathy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's important. And I think that we miss that. And I think empathy comes from a very young age, and you have to cultivate that. You know, I don't have children. I don't plan on reproducing little people, but I love my nieces and nephews. And I know that we have that empathy there. One thing is, you know, with this self-work, it comes in stages.
Yeah.
I am 41 years old and will be 42 in September. And I can tell you, because I've been on the screen for the last, 3 months, I love my smile. Because I've seen it reflected because of Zoom and things of that nature. But it took me 41 years to figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, and it just hit me the other day that I have really nice cheekbones, you know, and stuff, and it really comes out, and I have a little bit of dimples that comes out here and there, but I didn't realize that. But I've been staring at myself since March, because we're on these Zooms and we see ourselves reflected back to each other and stuff. But it comes in stages. It comes, and it's not all going to come, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
You know, and I didn't know that this smile was this pretty and this beautiful, but it's 41 years to figure that out.
Right. Yeah. Looking at ourselves. Yeah.
I was going to just add, I'm over here doing something on the computer. I was going to add, it also would help if we just be an example.
Yeah.
Because young people do as you do. They don't do as you say.
Right.
They really don't. So if they see you treating yourself well, if they see you, if they hear you saying how black somebody is, or we still using terms like fair skin when there's no color named fair. Hello.
Right.
You know, that meant you had a fair shot with white people. Let's just be honest. Young people, they get to see how you coo over people, or, what you think is beautiful. If you have a face full of makeup, don't get mad at them because they want a face full of makeup. That's probably the biggest thing for us is to be the example. Because we're always taught to look outside of ourselves for an example when you are the biggest example.
Right.
They just gonna follow you. And so young people watch us. They watch what we think is important. They watch that.
They do.
They watch how we go over people, or one young lady, one of my young girls said to me one time, "Well, Ms. Rowe, what was your dream?" Like, I didn't even realize. She said, "Because you always helping us with ours. But what's yours? Are you living your dream?"
Ooh, that's good.
Like, I think I am, but there's some things I still wanted to do. I was like, let me step back and look at that for myself, because young people, or people in general, you teach people how to treat you.
Yes.
And that means if they watch you accept a bunch of BS, that's what they're gonna think of being a woman is. I really hate when we act like taking a bunch of abuse is somehow mean that you're more loyal than other people. And sometimes in the Black community, we talk about that just like that. Well, she was there for me when I was messed up. Why is that the only time you see me? Like, I don't want to do that dance with you. I don't want to be going through a bunch of trauma with you.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that, man, this is, man.
Well, I make it a point when I see sisters out in the community, I don't care who you are, I celebrate you. I mean, I walk up to you. I just celebrate you. I love on you for just who you are and for just being present. That is something that I practice, because like you said, Mama Rowe, we have to be that example. And I got to let Black women know I see you.
And I just have to be very honest. I think when we do this work, we're really healing generations.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Our ancestors smile on us bigger and can help us more in that other place. And then generations to come, that we're not going to be passing down things we knew wasn't for us in the first damn place.
That's right.
And people give you what they have. But when you be like, I don't want to do that. You don't really have to do it. You can be like, I'm not doing it. I'm giving my baby something totally different. I'm not going to be around here calling you get your little ass in here. Like, I'm not going to say that to you.
Right. Yep.
Because it didn't feel good when somebody said that to me.
Right.
Something wrong with my ass. Come on in here, baby. Or that's why I tend to, when I was younger, older people would always say baby, honey, sweetie. It's because they didn't remember my name.
Right.
But it made me feel some kind of way. I showed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't nothing like somebody saying, "How you doing, beautiful? How you doing, sweetie?" Or just it just raises the vibration in you, even if you was just acting a fool.
Right.
I think one of the things that I try to do, especially with my niece and nephew or anybody that enters my space, is actually, the look up, connect with the eyes, and give a smile and welcome them. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to when you see them, you're automatically looking at what's wrong with them. That energy, you can change the energy in the whole room around just by you welcoming somebody,
Right.
I think that we have to be responsible for the energy we bring into a space. That's critical. And if you know that you're not ready to be in this space, don't enter.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, don't be a teacher.
Don't be
Exactly. You do not. You have to do that. It's almost like, with this corona. If you know you have that little tickle in your throat,
right.
keep that
Right.
tickle at home. That
Right.
tickle can boil up and ruin a lot of people. We have to think about that. Especially with this Rona. We don't want to be giving this Rona out. You got that. Black folks ain't gonna take off work for nothing. We're gonna work through this cold.
Yes, we.
Like we gonna stick around. You got a tickle in your throat and you didn't sneeze too many dang on times. You stay your butt home.
So y'all, as we wrap up, this has been awesome. So we definitely talked about education, information, and press purpose. We definitely discussed all of that. What is your closing statement? What you want to leave the people with?
Man.
I think be responsible for the energy you bring into a space.
Right on.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same. Do your work. We've talked a lot about everybody else doing their work. We got to make sure that we are doing our work so that we are healed and whole and well as we go out and serve others.
Exactly. And I want to piggyback on what the Queen says is do your work. Self-reflection is essential.
Yeah.
Wow. And with that, family, thank y'all for joining us on Sunday Sip with Sisters.
Thank you so much for having me. I've watched it so many times, and now to be sitting on here, I am so blessed to be able to be a part of this and to know that and work with you all. So thank you so much for having me.
Likewise, 100%. Thank you, Doctor.
Peace, family. All right, let me close us out of here.